What's up, Terrifics? We've saved the best for last. Welcome to your live continuing coverage of CES 2020 here in North Hall on the floor of the Las Vegas Convention Center. We've come to the Mercedes-Benz booth, and you guys have something very special. This is Sylvain, and this is something very futuristic. It's a concept and it's made in partnership for Mercedes.
Exactly. I mean, this partnership is a partnership between Mercedes-Benz and the people from Lightstone Production around James Cameron, John Landau, you all might know them, the makers of the AVTR movie and the makers of the upcoming AVTR movies.
The idea here is there's a concept that's become popular in the last few years, living architecture. Architecture that adapts to the environment, that is able to breathe and make buildings cooler and use less air conditioning and use less heat by making them warmer. As the environment changes, it can change with it. A lot of that kind of conceptual thinking has been put into this, is that correct?
Exactly. I mean, it goes even further. I mean, this car comes alive. This is more like a living creature. It can sense the environment, it can sense the people around, it can even create a connection with the driver. We call it the human-machine merge, so the driver and car become one. Most of the design all of the design is inspired by nature. I mean, that was our guideline. The design language is bionic, it's inspired by nature, the shapes and also the details are inspired by the nature of our Earth as well as the nature of Pandora, of the planet of AVTR. So talking about the wheels, for example, they're inspired by the wood sprites. The wood sprites are those little flying objects that all of you might know from the first AVTR movie, and they gave us inspiration to create these spherical wheels. They have different purposes. Of course, these wheels, they can steer in a completely different way. So they're steered individually, and this car can maneuver in ways a normal car couldn't do. It can almost turn on the spot. It can even like shift diagonally. And this spherical shape also gives a minimal touchdown point on the ground, so this car is very respectful when it's driving through nature. The doors are inspired by dragon wings of the AVTR movies as well. So the spectacular opening reminds you of the wings of a dragon. The flaps have different purposes. You already mentioned aerodynamics. Yes, they can be used for aerodynamic enhancement of the car, for steering, for braking, but they have also different purposes. They can indicate basically whether the driver wants to go right, wants to go left, whatever, and can also express the car. So,
is usually on a fast car, you'd have a tail for downforce to keep the back end of the car from coming up. Are these to also help with downforce?
Exactly. If they turn basically like this, they can be turned in all the direction. And if they turn like this, they can also support the downforce, of course.
I would imagine the idea here is that they turn very fast. They move very fast.
Exactly. I mean, they can move on the spot basically. But another aspect of them is basically to bring this car alive. If we look at nature, also on like Pandora and also on our Earth, that's how animals communicate, with their fur, with their skills, with the feathers. You know, they can express their emotions. And once a person is merged with the car, this car can also express his feelings on the outside, his emotions on the outside. And when you're outside the car, this car can start communicating with you. So when you approach the car, the flaps react to you, follow you around, show like an animal would show to his owner that he's excited, that he's there. You know, like that's the kind of interaction we're thinking of.
I like that a lot. I imagine, I just assume that this is an electric vehicle that's also autonomous. Are both of those true?
This is absolutely right. I mean, we're thinking here about a distant future, of course, but we're thinking about a battery technology that goes beyond what we know today. And autonomous driving, yes, this car is autonomous, but we don't want to leave the person without any ability to control the car. So that's why we installed this human-machine merge. So this car can take over a lot of the driving, but you can still give impulses to the car and tell the car what it should do. So it's more like a corporation.
So you can probably tell its speed and handling, I would imagine.
Exactly. So you have this merge device, you put your hand there, that's where the connection starts, and by pushing forward, backwards, it's the most intuitive way of steering a car you could imagine.
Almost the combination of a plane and a mouse, I would think. Now, talk about the interior. These are considered leaf seats. I would imagine in a leaf seat, much like a leaf suspension, there's some suspension in the seat. Obviously, it looks a little bit like a leaf, and they look gorgeous and very comfortable.
Definitely. I mean, these seats, they're the most comfortable seats you can imagine. And yes, they're inspired by the leaves of the AVTR movies where the people sleep in. That was our major inspiration. Also in the back, basically, I mean, what's really unique about the interior is what you can see here. The rear seat becomes the headrest. So it's like these rear seats, they're really enclosing the rear passengers. We're thinking here about like a family car, so the rear seats are a little bit smaller for the children, but they're very much connected to the parents as well. The screen here, this big surface, projection surface, this is a window into a world of fascination, basically. You can see the world through different eyes, through eyes of animals of our world and also of Pandora, basically, like the dragons, for example. And you can get additional information about the world, like magnetic field lines and these things. This exterior is now in the way that we produced it for the show cars is in fiber.
Okay.
Of course.
Very cool.
But on the interior, you can see a lot of sustainable materials, because that's like one of our topics, core topics of this car, the sustainable aspect. So you see the Karun floor.
Yeah.
This is coming like from the jungles. These are the Karun fibers, basically. They can be produced very sustainable, and you even have to reharvest or reinstall rainforest in order to grow them.
Wow.
And also you have basically the fabric that is from recycled plastics.
Wow.
And also the Dynamica, the seats, is also created. It's a material that is vegan. It's a completely vegan interior.
What I love about this car, it's beautiful, and people could argue with me because the eye is in the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But what I love about this car is that it really represents what a true concept car is. In the 50s, 60s, and even 70s, we had real concept cars at auto shows. And you don't see that anymore. You see near production vehicles. And Mercedes, for the last 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years, has brought out real concept cars here at CES, which is wonderful. And you've seen the emergence of technology and car and the combination. And you've seen some of those features from the earliest cars here at CES make their way into S-classes and E-classes and GLEs and even GLSs. Are there features on this that you think within 5 years we will see in some of the Mercedes vehicles?
I mean, of course, I can't tell you like what we will bring into production, but definitely what's for sure is that we do these show cars not only to experiment and to create fantasy. Of course, we want to create fantasy and imagination, but we also want to study like what's possible. And this car for us is definitely, in its major message, is a car that could be a guideline for whatever we want to do in the future.
It's certainly great to see concept cars here, and it's certainly great to see this and to let your imagination run wild. This is beautiful. How long did it take to put together?
The concept car of this, let's say, complexity takes a lot of time to really manufacture and bring to life. So I would say like the whole design process was definitely more than 1.5 years in total from the first sketch. Usually, like the most concept cars are done much faster. We can do also, of course, concept cars within like half a year.
Yep.
But in this depth and detailing and conceptual complexity, it took a lot of time.
Tell me about when you first sit down to design this. Do you do it on a napkin? Do you sit on a tablet? Are you working with the team? Or are you all kind of sitting in a corner, coming up with your own concepts and taking it from there?
So since I'm the manager of the Exterior Advanced team, I'm not the one who is doing the sketches anymore. So I have an awesome team of people who are doing that. And yes, they're still like on the paper with a ball pen. I mean, that's how creativity sparks the best.
When you get a project like this, how excited do you guys get?
Well, we're crazy excited. I mean, first thing we did was we all met and watched the AVTR movies and got inspired there. But of course, we had a lot of like thoughts beforehand, also in our heads.
I'm sure you made at least one adjustment to the design or a drawing or something, or said, "Would this be better?" Or made a suggestion. What stands out on the car that you say, "Oh, that's definitely mine"?
I mean, once again, since I didn't like design, I would say design is always a team effort.
Sure.
And everybody has his part. And to create such a stunning object, you always need so many excited and motivated people. And so you can't, in the end, you can't really say like what is what.
You did a great job managing the team. You did a great job here at CES. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
This is wonderful. And of course, Mercedes is wonderful. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to do a quick wrap up upstairs on our set, but this is the last interview of CES 2020. Couldn't end in a better way. He's Sylvain. I'm Michael. You're the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special. Thanks so much for watching. Stay with us. We got more to come.